Hi everyone and welcome back to our FPSRPG series. In the last episode we did headshot damage and leg damage and shown how you can modify damage via bones. But now we're going to go through and show you how you can modify damage based on attributes that the player may have, such as strength. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so we're back in our FPSRPG, and last time we were here we made the bone damage modifiers for our characters. So let's try and make that first of all a bit more flexible for all the different things we're going to have in our game. So at the moment our bone damage modifiers is a variable attached to our target dummy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a component which I can then attach onto other actors that can take damage and handle the bone damage modifiers in there. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into here and we'll just put a blueprint class actor component, and we'll call this one the combat component. Okay, and in here I'm going to take that variable from before, the bone damage modifiers. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it into our variables here and compile that. So that's all we'll do here for now. We'll come back to this much later. We'll come back to that. So what we'll do now, my target dummy, is replace this bone damage modifiers with the one that's from that component. So let's add the component to our actor here first. Combat component. And we can set the damage modifiers over here on the right hand side. So I can set the head and thigh. I can do all that over here per actor. And if I want to get the modifiers, I'll just drag that out and get the bone damage modifiers from that component itself. Now I can get rid of the one that's local to here. So it just makes it a lot more flexible for us to add it to other meshes, other actors around our game. So the other part of our damage calculation is coming from the player itself. So at the moment the player is shooting out a damage value that's attached to the gun. Okay, and the gun is just a value from 10 here. And it's a static hard-coded value, so we need to make that variable based upon our player's stats, which we've already got set up in our attribute component, where we've got the health, stamina, and so on. So let's take a look at how we can make the use of some stats inside of our attribute component to generate our damage. So let's go edit our attribute component to add strength to it. And we'll change that to float. And we'll set strength here to another value. Now, when you're coming up with these values, don't forget you need to come up with your own internal logic for what is going to be the range like. So if it's going to be a 0 to 1 range, great. If not, it could be a hard value range. What is that range going to be? So some games will do 0 to 255, because that gives you 256 options there. Which is a nice number to work with, but it's totally up to you really. Okay, so I'm going to do the 255 option. So this will range between 0 and 255. So I'm going to start it off as 100. And I'm going to cap my value here on the value range here from 0 to 255. And I'll do the slider range as well, 0 to 255. Okay, compile. Save. Okay, so let's go to our spark shot. So our spark shot needs to know who is shooting the gun to be able to get the stats from our character. And then we can manipulate the damage. So I'm going to go to the event graph, and on begin play is where we're going to first of all get who has the gun. So if you right click and search for get parent actor, you'll have a look and you'll see there's this one here, get parent actor. If you hover over it, it'll tell you that this is going to get you the one that's created by the child actor component. So you want that one. And then from there, I can get the component by class. And I'm going to choose the attribute component. Okay. And we're going to store that as a variable, as we'll do players attributes. Like that. Okay, so it's going to get the attribute component live for us. Okay, so it's all set up and ready to go. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to my fire bullet, go to where I've got damage here, and I can manipulate damage as I want here as I shoot the gun. So let's drag out my attributes reference and get the strength. Now this is where it comes up to you how you're going to manipulate the strength value here. So whatever algorithm you want to use, totally up to you. Now what I'm going to do here in this strength, I'm going to do a normalize to range and put in a value between 0 and 255. Okay. And I'm going to add 1 to it. So what's going to happen here, if I put in 100, it's going to give me 0 point something. And now I'll add 1 to it to increase it to be above 1. So when I drag out from here and do multiply, it's going to increase it by a percentage. And that percentage is how much stamina, how much strength I have. Again, this is a very simple algebraic function. You typically will come up with something a little bit more complex because your attributes will be influenced by other things. But this will do for now. I'll put that in there. Okay. So that's our strength being calculated of the damage. But let's now add in a variable range. So it's not exactly the same damage every single time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do random float. And this will get you a random float between 0 and 1. And I'm going to do that into a lerp and put that as the alpha. So that's going to randomly get a value between A and B. And the value we've got here, normalized to range, it'd be our median value. And with the lerp, we're going to put in a minimum value and a higher value. And these are going to be the variance levels. And the way we're going to calculate that is via percentage. So I'm going to take the median value, which we're getting from here, and we're going to increase it by a certain percentage. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to multiply it. And I just realized I don't want to do it with that one. I'm going to multiply it by 1.05. So an increase of 5%. And now we're going to B. And A, this is going to be the same thing, but this time it's going to be the other way around. So it'd be 0.95 because you're doing 5% less. And that's going to go into A. And that will give us our variance. So let's put that into our base damage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of this and right click, collapse the function, and call it calculate damage. And this is going to be a pure function. So tick pure, and it'll give us the most up-to-date value as it needs to, like so. And you've got a handy little place where you can put in all other calculations you may want to do related to working out what the damage should be. Okay, so let's take a look at that in game and see what happens when I shoot the character. So we're going to get 14, 14, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, so we've got a slight range there increasing. Remember the base damage of the gun was 10. Our stats are increasing it to 13, 14, 15 range. And if I go to the head, we get our crits. There we go. And there you have it. You can now calculate damage via that algorithm. You can use whatever equation you want. By all means, do some research looking at other RPGs and see what kind of equations they come up with, because it's not always a linear line. It's usually a curve, so it does tail off a little bit. But we can definitely explore that further in later videos if you want to revisit this equation down the line. But in the next episode, we're going to go through the reloading mechanic for the gun and talk about how that's going to work, and including an active reload mechanic as well. So you can see that next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley. You can find all my videos early from just $1 a month. Thanks to all the patrons and YouTube members for the continued support in the channel. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time.